Luke, I immediately want to jump into this topic. And folks, I'm going to pause the footage because you know what they say about a picture being worth 1,000 words? Well, I think this picture is worth 329 million words worth. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Clobreel, obviously great friend of the community, has once again did what he always does. And that is share or make a graphic that really does depict what Xbox Game Studios is doing, what they have done, and what they will continue to do. Now, you can see on the screen in front of you Xbox Studios players' numbers. Now, the reason, Luke, I wanted to bring this into a conversation is because not so much the gaming media this time. I didn't really see any pushback from them, but I did see a lot of really poor negative takes from the gaming community as if these numbers do not matter, which I find to be preposterous at best. If you look at the numbers in front of you, there are 11 franchises. A Call of Duty happens to not be on this list because if it was, well, it would be more than what you see. But the total number of players across 11 franchises that are on your screen, that includes Starfield, Overwatch, Grounded, Flight Simulator, State of Decay, Forza Horizon 5, of course, Minecraft, Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, The Elder Scrolls Online, and one of my personal favorites, and Luke's as well, Halo Infinite. Well, the total number, ladies and gentlemen, and I did the math 3 times to make sure that I got it right, equates to 329 million players across 11 active franchises that fall under the Xbox Game Studios banner. This is a monstrous deal. And I know that, of course, some of the pushback, Luke, that I saw was, well, Boom, these aren't sales. These are just players. I don't even have an answer or a word for that. These are just players. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to count in a number, you got to play the game. 329 million players, ladies and gentlemen, across 11 franchises that are still active. These aren't numbers from 1978 when we were playing Pitfall. No one cares about that. These are all active games today being played by millions of players per day. And to shoot this down as being inconsequential to a conversation, I got no words for these people. But Luke, let's talk about this because this is another graphic from Clobreel that really does break down exactly why Xbox is the biggest publisher in gaming. Let's talk about it.
Well, I think Clobreel does great work at putting things in perspective and giving us kind of a wider breadth of like what's going on. When you look at just how many people are being reached by these franchises, it really speaks to why Xbox is continuing to invest in their gaming divisions in the ways that they are. Whether they're checking out publishers, studios, franchises, they're working to reach a number of players across the world and expand their horizons in their gaming division. Looking at this, it really puts into perspective what a new franchise like Starfield can do, what established franchises like Halo Infinite can do, even with a stumble after I mean, Halo Infinite's fantastic, but like stumbled with content, right? And then now absolutely on track and you guys should be playing it. And then you look at kind of what a franchise that's been reignited like Fallout can do. And it really speaks to just what's special about the Xbox brand division and all of the games that kind of exist under that umbrella. It's pretty impressive. And if I'm Xbox, I'm really proud of this. And anyone that's poo-pooing this clearly doesn't like video games, right? It's Colin Moriarty's logic. Like, do you like video games? Because this is how many people are playing video games across tons of franchises, multiple platforms, some exclusive, some not exclusive. It's just that much goodness reaching out there, and like not included in this picture, things like Call of Duty, things like Doom. And it's just, it is amazing to me that anyone can poo-poo Xbox when they are clearly so invested in their franchises. This is an incredible graphic that really showcases how special Xbox is. I mean, like, look at Sea of Thieves, right? Arguably Xbox's best IP in turn, maybe not best IP, let me rephrase that. Arguably their most impressive IP in that it exists unto itself. There is no competitor in the realm. There is no other game like Sea of Thieves.
Right.
And it's reached 40 plus million players. Right. And it only hit PlayStation this year. Like, there is something special about that. And when I see 11 million State of Decay, like, yeah, that was a small game. Anyone that remembers the Xbox 360 era, that was an Xbox Live Arcade game.
It sure
right?
was. Yeah.
Like, I could not be happier to be a part of this ecosystem and see the growth and the support and the unyielding support that Xbox has. They stuck with Halo Infinite. They stuck with State of Decay. They stuck with Sea of Thieves and Fallout 76 and so many other of these franchises to let them grow into the impressive numbers that they have. And that's why, I mean, like, when I look at this, it makes me smile. I'm happy. I'm not poo-pooing anything. This is incredible.
Yeah, what's even interesting? I someone actually said in the chat, and my apologies because the chat is going kind of fast, and I went looking for it and I couldn't find it. They said, what about the 200 million? Because I made mention of Minecraft. This is not Minecraft proper. This is Minecraft Dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
That's
fun game.
25 million. So
Yeah.
if again, I mean, if we're gonna go with what's out there, and I think, honestly, I just think he ran out of room, because if you put Minecraft in there and you put Call of Duty in there, which listen, they may not have started on Xbox, Luke, but they own them now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that's something to be said.
Yeah. I mean, I was at I put it up on my socials this past weekend. I was at Busch Gardens just hanging out with a friend, and like, in the arcades there were Minecraft dungeons. Like, not with Minecraft Dungeons. And then, Fire Team Raven was there, which was cool because that's always a fun game. But yeah, it's astounding. Like, they have worked since they purchased Mojang, and I want to say it was 2014. They have really worked to make sure that Minecraft proper reaches a big number, but also to grow the Minecraft brand. They've tried Legends, Dungeons. Dungeons is my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, I love Dungeons. Phenomenal. Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool, man. Like, they continuously support and work to innovate and stumble along the way.
Sure.
But for every stumble, like, I see reignited effort. Right. And that's not meant to sound fanboyish, though I realize somebody could clip that and make it sound like, but like, you can't deny that State of Decay 1 was rough, but they stuck with State of Decay 2 came out. Not its best showcase, even though I loved it, but State of Decay 2 in its form now, Fallout 76 in its form now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And I mean, listen, you can't argue. Look, I'm and you'll appreciate this. We all have opinions. Some are good, some are bad, some are, egregious, right? But I'm all about, you've heard me say this before, evidence-based conversation, especially when it comes to numbers, because the numbers are here. These are the numbers. You may hate Xbox, you may love Xbox, but the fact of the matter is that these numbers do not lie. And the fact that a lot of the games on your screen right now, Luke, not only are continued to get support, not only from the players, but of course from the studios with extra content and consistent content. Most of these games would be considered, the dirty word, gas games. And if there is one thing that I kind of want to hone in on, is how taken for granted, especially by the gaming media, that they are doing it right. Xbox is doing it right. People are spending money in these games. And that is something that we're seeing right now, folks. And again, this isn't console war rhetoric. This is just factual talk. Sony is struggling to figure this out, right? Where was Xbox struggling? Well, they were struggling with story-driven, adult-themed, graphically intense single player games. And what we saw in June, most of what we saw was single player, story driven, narrative focused games where they were struggling. And they have addressed that. Sony, on the other hand, they are really good of telling graphical, intense stories that have a very same look. Now, and again, that's not a dig. I love the over the shoulder way that they tell their stories, which is why I own a PlayStation 5. But it gets very samey. Now, when you look at what Xbox is doing, a lot of their single player stuff, very different from each other. All different. Some of them are first person. Some of them are up close. Some of them are wide open range in regards to third person. And it's refreshing. Sony is in a ish situation, Luke, where they have not figured out gas games. And look, the numbers again are the numbers. Concord had an open beta, and it did horrendous on Steam. I mean, the first day it was available, I saw I had like 937 people on Steam playing it. Now, granted, in order to play on Steam, folks, you had to pre-order the game. Well, pre-orders were so terrible on PlayStation, rather than keeping it to only pre-orders, they opened up to the whole community. And you know what we didn't get from Sony? Numbers of players. And I wonder why that is. So this is their first stab at gas after the successful Helldivers 2, which was and continues to be a success for them. It's just not looking good. Let's talk about that for a second.
You want to talk about the idea that like Concord?
Well, no, I want to focus in on the how correct and how right Xbox is going down this gas avenue, and people not actually giving them credit for it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, there is a consistent run of big companies trying things and stumbling, and where Xbox has gotten it right has been a lot of their online multiplayer games of service experiences, whether it's something as casual and relaxed as like a flight sim, whether it's something as new and innovative as Grounded, or something that took time to get right, like Sea of Thieves. They consistently have the formula figured out on kind of these not MMOs, but massive multiplayer games, right? Like they've got it down, whether it comes to their battle pass-esque system that existed in Halo Infinite until recently. I thought that was really cool. It never runs out. And I actually like their new Spartan system as well. Cosmetics only in Sea of Thieves, and yet they're on season 13 come I think the end of this month. They'll be on season 13. Whether it's the steady updates that Grounded and State of Decay got, they found a way to retain players, give them value to dollar ratios that are appealing because those players are investing in those communities. And thanks to Game Pass, they're able to try it out. Do I think there are 40 million plus active Sea of Thieves players across all platforms? No. But how many people tried it and then existed in a way that let the game sustain itself? And I think that's something that Sony is trying to figure out. And a good example is Helldivers, which is a great video game. I love Helldivers. And a lot of people tried it. And the stories that I'm seeing, the headlines are like 90% of the people are gone. And like, that sucks for the people that make Helldivers. I forget the studio that made it, but like, that's something that Xbox has mastered. Get it to a lot of people quickly. I mean, most Helldivers players are on Steam, and then retain a core that can invest financially in the game over time. And that is something that I really appreciate Microsoft just finding the formula to do, right? And it's different than, say, like people who are looking at Starfield. Starfield is not a games as service, and its player count drop was a single player game. And so that what are they doing? They've got an expansion coming, right? And that's just, there's a cadence that comes with these online games as service games, single player games that can be expanded in different ways, that they've just seemed to have the formula right, and that's special, right? There are other things that they don't get right, but clearly Sony's chasing this Xbox reoccurring revenue. And I know we saw in the leak from Insomniac that Sony's finances. They're not bringing in the money, or they're not getting the return on investment despite these really high profile, impressive games. Shout out to Spider-Man 2. I love those games. But like, they're just not getting the return on investment. Meanwhile, Xbox's franchise, I mean, just looking at the graphic, right? Those games have reoccurring revenue streams that allow them to be sustained in a modern ecosystem. And they do it in a way that's clearly not predatory to the point of people wanting to leave, because otherwise they wouldn't live. Right. And it makes me worry about Concord for a number of reasons, because Concord, like, you're going to have a steady weekly story drops. That's money. That's a lot of money being spent on cinematics and time.
Well, cinematics are really good. I will say they're impressive. Yeah. They're impressive.
But I mean, are they chasing the Destiny formula? I cannot figure it out. And it's not enough to have good gameplay in the modern era. There's got to be more to it. And that's what Xbox has figured out to master. They can have the gameplay, but you have to have community engagement. You have to have reasons for players to stick around, reasons for them to return, things that get them excited. I mean, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3 has been doing crossovers since it came out. Right? In Warzone, you've seen people from The Walking Dead, from The Boys. They've got, I think, a WWE crossover. They're finding ways to reignite their franchises and keep people interested as they kind of end the cycle of Modern Warfare and gear up for Black Ops. And like, that's something that I don't think every company has figured out. You've got to find ways to get people excited. Sea of Thieves, what do? Pirates of the Caribbean, Fallout 76, the benefit of the show. Right? Even Flight Sim, they had Top Gun crossovers. So ways to keep people engaged and excited. I think the only franchise not the only franchise. Let me rephrase that. I think I'm surprised that we didn't see more crossover with Halo Infinite. Right? Like
1,000%. Yeah.
Where's Gears in there? Why don't I have armor?
Where's the power armor?
Yeah.
These are two. Listen, they have such a great relationship, folks. Bear with me here. If we're getting, because I'm going to nerd out for a second. They have a great relationship with EA. Fantastic relationship with them, as a matter of fact. Where is the Mass Effect crossover? I think Mass Effect armor in Halo who wouldn't spend the money to get an N7 armor in Halo? Listen, folks, I'm not a whale, for money, because I'm retired. So of course I got to be cautious with how I spend. But every time there's a new operation, folks, I'm not fronting here. I spend $45. Boom, there you go. I buy the armor. I have hundreds of them. Now, you can only have so many up there, but I have a lot. I love Halo Infinite. Almost 23 days in, that tells you how much I love Halo Infinite. So that's a game that I don't mind dropping money on. But I wish that crossover you're talking about it's a conundrum. It's a conundrum because they would make a lot of money, especially from people like me.
Yeah, it is beyond me why we don't see that happen in some franchises. Because now, like, I put up a picture in Fortnite a couple of weeks ago, and it was like Fortnite and Xbox, like, handshake or something like that, and it was power armor from Fallout, Doom guy, Master Chief, and Marcus, all in Fortnite. And like, it went crazy. People went awesome for it. Those are all Xbox franchises getting representation. Why don't we see power armor in every franchise? Why isn't there Doom guy in Infinite? It's funny because it's such an easy thing. And I think the counter argument that people have would be like, well, no, that'll dilute it. Man,
no,
don't give me that. Like, no, it will not. Call of Duty is still Call of Duty. Halo's still Halo. Like, Gears had what, 2 Spartans in Gears 5 from the get-go.
They had
Gears
Terminator. They had Terminator, and they had Sarah O'Connor in there.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Like, they won't dilute anything. Let them have multiplayer is a place to have fun and go crazy. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when the Battlefront, the Star Wars Battlefront reboot first happened, and people were like, the pink Darth Vader, it'll ruin the experience and whatnot? Like, yeah, but also Fortnite's crazy and active, and people are invested. And like, does anyone really care if the multiplayer is canon? Like, sometimes we push too hard for authenticity at the sacrifice of an audience, and it's like, come on.